Hey everyone, I want to start out this stock market outlook video by just showing the heat map of the deep view leader screen, and this is price percent change from the open. And for me, my thoughts on the market and my view of the market health is kind of separated into two different things. First is the high level view of the indexes, and then is kind of the view and analysis of the health of market leadership, especially as well the mega caps, but also kind of the stocks that are in my universe to trade. How are they performing? And you can see this is price percent change from the open. Almost every single one of them is down, and many of them are down, over 5%. So this just in one screen gives me a sense of, what's going on in my universe of stocks to trade. And basically all of them had large distribution bars here on this past Friday. So let's go back to the indexes first things first to get this perspective, because I think it's important to consider both what the indexers are doing, as well as what are the actual stocks doing. And there's kind of two different sides to the market, and that kind of combines to give you a great sense of the health of everything that's going on. Obviously, this bar stands out in terms of a negative character change in the market. We broke below all these lows all at once, below the 10 EMA, well below the 21 EMA as well. And the catalyst is, of course, the potential for more China trade tariffs and tension. And that is, of course, what led to this big move down, the tariffs down here. Now, I've done a whole video about how those news catalysts impacted the market during this period, and I'll probably link that video down below. It's a really good case study, but basically the market started to turn around as clarity was assumed by the market about what direction the tariffs are going to go. It wasn't that everything was resolved all the way. All that the market was waiting for was clarity. And that happened right in this area where we started to form the higher low and reclaim the moving average. Where things got a little bit fuzzy and when those tariffs were first kind of instigated is when things started dramatically falling, because there's just a lot of confusion. There's a lot of unknowns, and the market does not like unknowns in general. It loves clarity. So we'll see what happens. As soon as there's some clarity that arises with regards to this trade deal, then likely the market's going to sniff that out and start a new uptrend or continue the existing uptrend. But until that happens, likely there's going to be increased volatility, larger moves up and down, gap ups up and down. And for how I trade with tight stops, tight and logical stops, trading the leaders, that's not really an environment I want to be very active in. So I'm shifting way more to the defensive end. Now this, Monday, maybe tomorrow here or even before I post this, there's some clarity that comes out and we see an amazing Monday. That's okay. If I miss one up day, that's no problem. It's going to take charts a little bit of time to reset, but that can also happen a lot faster than we think. But overall, a bar like this tells me to give it a little bit of pause. I'm aware that something can happen like this where there's two, this is almost a compound day of what we saw in one day here, down almost, 4% from highs. This was down about the same amount, around 4% between these 2 days. And what happened? We recovered, but we need a little bit of time. And this is almost a stealth correction where everything was choppy. So when you start to see distribution signs like this, big downside reversals, much larger ranges than normal, for me, as someone who thrives on finding tight spots, tight entries, and trading stocks from bases, this looks more like the start of a choppy corrective period than a time where I really want to be stepping on the gas. So that's kind of my thoughts on the QQQ. As many of you know, the 21 EMA, and let me actually just minimize all the other moving averages. The 21 EMA is my guide. It does a great job of capturing the strong moves while getting you out the majority of declines and corrections. And we just closed below it. Technically 2 closes below it is my rule for turning off a cycle. But when there's one negative day like this, breaking all these lows together, that compound effect just for me made this cycle turn down last week. So again, we'll see what happens. Maybe we recover Monday. But I think until we get clarity around this news catalyst, we'll see a much harder environment for trading. But again, anything can happen, and we'll take it day by day and take that new information and put it into our algorithms, our thought processes, and see what happens. And we could start an uptrend earlier than we think, but we'll just have to wait and see until we get those signs, at least for my system, for my personal trading. Moving on to SPY, similar action. Looking at the IWM, very similar action. And IBIT as a proxy for Bitcoin. Bitcoin actually and all of crypto declined even further after the bell. So we'll see what happens with this. But in terms of these indexes, what is it telling you? What is the price action telling you here? Is it a time to be very aggressive, try to pick bottoms, all of that? Or is it time to step aside and wait for kind of the big volatile moves to do their thing and wait until the environment, is once again a little bit quieter and a little bit more conducive to your style of trading? Know yourself. Some people thrive in this volatility. They're day traders. They love those big daily ranges. For me, I like actually this tighter period where, it's just a steady uptrend. That's where a lot of the progress can be made. So I'd love a correction that would kind of set up a great strong end to the year likely. But we'll have to see what happens. And just to the downside, just to draw out a level, this would be a spot to look for a potential rounded bottom, or some type of, key upside reversal to start the distribution process. This would be a further about about 3% lower. So actually not too far. But again, we'll just have to see what happens. And that would just be a level of interest if we decline further. We've also, let me turn back on the moving averages. We've got the 50 SMA, which could be a bounce spot. We'll have to see what happens. But this looks like a change of character looking at this entire move right here. And let me actually just remove the drawings. If we take a look at this big downside reversal, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. All right, so with that said, let's run through some of the key names. Google breaking below the 21 EMA, Microsoft breaking below the 21 EMA, failed breakout here. Apple breaking below the shelf, all these lows all at once. Meta, downside reversal off the 21 EMA. Nvidia, big spot here, got taken out, and big downside reversal, and testing this base pivot here, very negative bar here. Amazon, a downside reversal, failing at the moving averages, and Tesla failed range breakout to the upside, reverses, and breaking below this level as well as the 21 EMA. And doesn't look too good. So a lot of these are breaking below the 21 EMA, and that gives you a sense of how the mega caps are performing in this environment. Moving on to a few other key names, let's take a look at Reddit. Let's bring up that chart. Downside reversal off the 21 EMA. Palantir, downside reversal, looking to break out, instead breaking below the 21 EMA. Some of these are still in their overall structures, right? So what will be key is what stocks hold up the best. Anything above the 21 EMA is something to keep an eye on. Unless it's super extended, then it maybe needs a new base. But anything that's kind of holding its structure is something to take note of. Not necessarily to trade right away, but to take note of. And you just want to kind of accumulate a list of these relative strength stocks every single day during a correction if we continue down, and notice which stocks are holding up the best, holding their moving averages, holding key lows. If the market continues to correct and undercuts this structure right here, let me bring this up. If you take a look at a stock and it holds above, its August lows, that would be a key sign to keep an eye on that name. And, just take note of that as we go further. That homework will pay off when we get the start of a new uptrend, if this actually turns into correction. Again, I'm kind of assuming that, just kind of giving that perspective. If we go into a further correction, that will be kind of my playbook. And maybe I'll do a whole video on kind of what I do during a correction to stay on top of the key themes and leaders to watch and look to enter after that correction does. But we'll see first and foremost whether we actually continue to correct, or if this is one bad day and we have a positive expectation breaker and hold up well, early next week. Getting back into the key names, a lot of the names that have been running for quite some time either had downside reversals or again were breaking key lows. Some of them, they're still above their 10 EMA. They're still in an uptrend. So we'll have to see what happens. But even these names, even the strongest names during a correction will break. So if we actually continue a correction, likely these names will correct as well. So know your spots and know your plan for each of the positions that you have right now, depending on your profit cushion, right? Based on your style, if you're a swing trader, likely during a correction, you look to go to cash, short, whatever. But if you're a position trader and have a great cushion on a stock, then you can handle it a little bit differently, but you have to do the math and know what correction you're planning to, go through for that stock. So it does depend on your profit cushion and, of course, your style and time frame. What are some other names I want to go through here? MP, tried to break out, actually held up a lot better than most stocks, but we do have a fade off highs. In terms of overall themes, crypto is vulnerable if Bitcoin continues to be weak. So there's a lot of names related to that. You've got coin breaking down in a big way. This 21 EMA is a key level. It lines up with these highs as well. You've got HUT. A few of these names, if they fall through to the downside, that could be an opportunity for some. But just this overall theme is vulnerable. Metals as well. If we go to Barrick Gold, we'll see if it can hold this 21 EMA. But GLD, if we bring up that chart, negative bar here, holding up okay on Friday, and just grinding higher. But we'll see if this theme either weakens. This bar for me gives me a little bit of pause on the highest volume, but so far just holding above the moving averages. The other theme, of course, LEU, the energy names, big downside reversal, but holding above the 10 EMA. So we'll see how it acts at that level. If we fall through to the downside. But some of these names are a little bit more speculative, and we'll see how they handle a potential correction if that does arise. But overall, I think my main point is looking at the indexes, looking at the mega caps, we've got a potential changing character, and just a sign for me to be a little bit more cautious, defensive if you haven't already taken action, and just know your plan for each position if we continue to correct, continue to experience a lot of choppy markets, and see what happens. But things could clear up a lot faster than it may seem if we just get some good positive news regarding the catalyst that we had on Friday. So we'll have to see what happens and play the cards as they are dealt. But overall, my thoughts are changing character, potential start of a correction. These bars I often call base starter bars. If we go to TTD, this is kind of a good example of it. Way back in this area right here, trending, and then boom, just breaks down, and it consolidated for quite some time, and I think didn't even break into new highs until almost a year later. So we'll have to see what happens. This type of bar just always give me a little bit of pause. It just signifies a changing character, and we may be going through more a choppy correction or correct more through price. Time will tell what actually happens. But let me know your thoughts down below on this market. And tomorrow, of course, I'll be doing my watch list video. If you have any names that you'd like me to run through in that video, let me know maybe your top 3 down below, and I'll be sure to cover those, as well as just give my thoughts in the comment section. But let me know your thoughts on this market. What do you think? Do you think we're going lower? Do you think this will resolve itself and we'll be continuing on this uptrend? And just give me your thoughts overall. If you enjoyed hearing me run through those names, definitely go ahead and leave a like down below, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll see you guys in future videos. Take care.